Yes, we are. Hello, everyone. Welcome to HockeyBuzzCast. We're trying to get Mike, who's in Toronto, not Buffalo, but in Toronto right now. So we're trying to get him in there to see, so he can help us out. We're going to do our predictions today. We're going to start with the Metro division. First, I have a little bit of a pre-show thing. It's going to be really short, but okay. I've been watching with my son. I've been getting back into the original Batman television show.
Oh yeah, I love
that television show.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, is it ever hilarious? Like, I mean, just in its awfulness, it's just hilarious the way they did it.
But you know what's funny? There may have been some awfulness, but the acting from some of the actors was great. Like Cesar Romero was a great Joker. Like he was.
Oh yeah, no, he was, and the Riddler was great.
Yeah, Frank Gorshin was a great Riddler.
Yeah, it's so true, and it was really funny to watch, like how but there are so many. The set, it was done on such a low budget. Like the sets.
Oh yeah.
If they're in in a bakery, they'll put a bakery sign on the wall. If they're if they're in something else, they'll just put we're in the bank to put a bank sign on the wall. It's the same exact set, just a different sign on the wall.
Yeah, even the bat phone could have been fancier. I mean.
Oh yeah, there's no question. That was really.
But the Batcave was still cool. It was. When I was 8 years old watching that, the Batcave was cool.
Oh man, I loved it when I was a kid, and the fact that it was cliffhangers all the time.
Yeah. Love the cliffhangers.
Yeah.
I will tell you this. There was one theme that I never understood until I was about 12, because I would watch these reruns all the time. And as an example, why in the world was Aunt Harriet interested in what's his name's character? The what was the name of the character? The piano player. He's famous. Now all of a sudden his name's escaping me.
But yeah. No, I know who you're talking about. Oh, jeez. That's terrible.
The chat room will know, but
yeah.
Why in the world was she interested in him when she had to have known he was gay? Yeah. And yet Aunt Harriet was interested in him, and that used to drive me crazy. I was like, why?
Right.
Why was she interested in Liberace's character? It didn't make
Liberace's character, right. Oh my God.
I think he was a time guy. What was it was time something? I forget his guy, but
yeah, I forget who he was too, but oh my gosh.
There was one great one. I posted a link about a year ago. There was a guy called The Author. And I posted a link because it was very funny how they sort of made fun of writers. And I really enjoyed it. I don't remember that one as a kid, but there are a lot of memorable ones, and there's a lot of good character actors. When that show started to really take off is when they started having people pop out when they were climbing the building. That's when, because everybody wanted to do it because everybody wanted to impress like their grandson or their son.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There were all kinds of amazing cameos. But that's about a year.
Yeah, it was just, and the whole holy this and holy that from Robin is is off the charts funny. I mean,
yeah, he would outdo himself with that.
And then the Batgirl stuff too, which is later.
Yeah, Peter says he's backstage, but I don't see him.
I don't see Peter either. You're not here, Peter. He's in the wrong place, man.
Yeah,
he might have come to the wrong show. I think he's on the wrong.
Yeah. Did you email him a link?
I did.
Okay. Check email. I'm going to say.
Yeah. Or you can just copy that text that I sent.
Wow. But no, I liked it. Batgirl. Look, at 12 years old, was I interested in Batgirl? Yeah, you bet. But it just, I enjoyed it because even the campiness of Adam West, you could call him a bad actor, but he knew what he was doing.
Oh, yeah.
And he knew that adults would get the joke and kids would still think it was cool. And that's what made that show work.
Absolutely. That's exactly right. And adults, it is just so funny, the different scenarios. It's well worth watching if you can find it anywhere.
Yeah. And Alfred, how did Alfred ever fool anybody when he was in the Bat costume? Because he had a mustache to start, so we start there.
Right.
So the costume protruded a little, and he had sagging boobs for an older guy, and he was a little heavier and taller, and yet somehow Alfred fooled everybody. I never understood that either.
I have no idea. No idea. You're so right. It was absolutely right. So I'm trying to get Peter here.
I know Peter's trying to get there. I'm going to remove my cat because she was a star of a show last night, but I was getting used to this.
One email. Sorry. I'm sorry, folks. Sorry about this. This is fun live TV here. What email should I send to Peter? Okay. We'll be going in a second here. But yeah, we apologize for this delay. And we have Mike wandering around the streets of Toronto. There's Mike. Hold on. We got Mike.
Great.
Mike, we have you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Friggin' miracle.
We do. We have you now. It's awesome. We're just now trying to find Peter. Just
Great.
I was talking briefly about the I got into with my son recently the original Adam West Batman television show.
Oh, it's hideous.
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh, it was great. Sorry.
It was campy. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say this. I liked it as a kid, and now compared to the Christopher Nolan Batman, it's a farce. But you know, back in the day, it was fun.
Well, we were saying character actors were good though. Cesar Romero was good.
Burgess
Frank was good. Burgess Meredith was good.
Julie Newmar was pretty damn good too.
Yeah, but they were good actors. They were trying to pull off this campiness, and they did.
And it was the first time anyone had ever done anything like that, so it must have been just totally weird. Like,
Right.
because the whole thing was just completely. And the fact that there's a famous Simpsons episode where you have the various Batmans are there.
I mean, I'm Facebook friends with Burt Ward. I should try and message him and say, "Hey, come on and tell us about this."
Yeah, right. That's funny.
But the thing about it is, in those days, sitcoms were just starting, right?
Yeah.
Sitcoms were ridiculously not funny, and with the laugh track, sometimes just monotonous, right?
Right.
So I think they kind of knew that and wanted to have it be a little different than even a sitcom, but they knew they couldn't pull off it being like real Batman because it was 60s TV and they didn't have like Lost in Space.
Yeah.
You could only pull off so much.
Yeah.
Victor Buono as King Tut. Oh,
Yeah.
That's great. King Tut ones. Let's get started because we have so much to do today. But Peter will be joining us as well. I just emailed him the link. Hopefully he'll find us. Fine.
Yeah, he'll find us.
Anyway, here we go. And I got to get Funky calls Zena's text up there somehow, which I don't know how to do. I don't know how I put it up there. So that's funny.
He's still saying it's the wrong link. Oh boy.
It's not. That's like you guys got here from it.
I know.
The one on the text message was wrong. It was
Was wrong?
Yes. Send
Oh,
it.
crap.
But
All
the one on the email was right.
All right. Okay, hold on. Jesus. All right. Sorry, guys. This sucks. Hold on.
So it turns out Mike is pretty good at this.
Yeah, Mike figured it out. All right. So the one that on the
When he's not selling encyclopedias, because that's what he looks like he's doing right now.
No, I'm standing in the lobby of Scotiabank Arena with my laptop basically on a pole, some sort of pole.
Yeah.
Thieving the Leafs Wi-Fi and having people walking by me trying to sell me tacos.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with people selling your tacos, man.
No.
Well, did you hear the story about the vendor at the Miami football stadium that got
I don't believe
arrested?
the story.
You don't?
No, because who's buying $500 beers? Like, come on.
Well, no, it was supposed to be $20 for the beer, and it ended up being the guy charged him $735.
Yeah, who's paying that is my point.
He didn't know until he checked his account the next day.
Oh, so wait, you could buy beer in the stands with your credit card?
Yeah, no, there was a walking vendor,
okay.
and he thought he was charging him $20, and the next day he checked his account. It said $735, and he had the guy arrested.
Although if it was Yankee Stadium, that would be the price.
That would be about right for a
Is there any way, Russ, that you could email the right link to him?
Yes, I'll email the right link to people.
My whole system is freaking out on me.
Hey, Mike, what's the weather like there? We have like 90 degrees here.
It's pouring rain.
Oh, so we're going to get that tomorrow. Okay.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
All right.
We're going to talk about, we decided, Mike, while you weren't here, because I think it might be better anyway today. We're going to do the Eastern Conference today.
Okay, I wasn't prepared for the Metro, but I'll wing it.
You'll wing it. You've thought about it enough, I'm sure.
You know it.
So we're going to get into that, and Peter will be here shortly. You have the right
I do have
email.
the right link. I have to just send it to him now.
You have the right email address? You got it. Yeah.
I saw it.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right, good. Thanks. Here we go, guys. I want to talk about Spezza for a second, and then we'll get into the whole thing, prediction things. All right. Hello, Hockey World. It is Wednesday, October 2nd.
Nope.
October 3rd.
No, the third's tomorrow. I know that for sure.
Wednesday, October 2nd.
That's what I said. It is Wednesday, October 2nd, 2019. Don't make me believe that.
I'm Mike Agello on location somewhere in Toronto.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Eklund. You're watching the Hockey Buzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world. And Mike's in Toronto, where I want to start with the story today of Jason Spezza being a healthy scratch for this first game, and just how ridiculous that is to me, on so many levels. First of all, we got to realize that this is a kid who was a kid. Well, Jason Spezza's not a kid anymore, but I still think of him as a kid. But he who comes back to Toronto at a discount, plays to play for a year in his hometown, and your opening game of the season is against his old team in Ottawa. This is his opening game, playing, in his Maple Leafs uniform and everything like that. Everything's going to be great. And now, bam, what happens? Babcock goes and scratches him. I just think I just don't know anything that could be more dysfunctional than this. Like, this is way more than just a scratch. This is like a big FU, basically.
I don't think it's an FU as much as it is antiquated thinking. I think Mike Babcock now is starting to show that he is the coach of 10 years ago rather than the coach of today.
Right.
And I think he is going to be sorry, not necessarily in this game, but if he puts Nick Shore in there and he wants to match up against the Bruins fourth line, or if he wants to match up against, I hope Mike's not getting arrested, by the way. Or if he matches up against the Lightning's fourth line, Nick Shore is not going to cut it.
Right.
Most teams don't have a grind line. Most don't. So I don't know why in the world they feel like this is necessary, but I just, I'm not in favor of this. I think it's a bad move. And I think you're potentially not firing up Jason Spezza, but annoying him. And I don't know if you get the best play out of him this way. He's had a long career. This is maybe something you do for a rookie that you thought could play that tough hockey. Jason Spezza's never played the tough hockey one day in his life. So why is he going to do it now for you?
Well, okay, sorry guys. I was actually talking to another reporter here who just walked by. No, this whole situation. Steve Simmons wrote about this a couple weeks ago in the Toronto Sun, and I think he was right on about it. Spezza was a signing by Kyle Dubas. This is another Frankie Corrado, another Josh Levo situation where basically, we lost that.
We lost that now.
We're losing everyone.
But yeah, X running the show, so you better come back. But this is a situation where this was not a Babcock signing. He's played Spezza on the wing. He's played him, alongside Freddie Gauthier, where they're sharing faceoffs. I mean, this is a 36-year-old veteran who's a good player, and from the go, Babcock had a problem with it, and it's ridiculous. He very easily could have said, if there's this, and what he said today was, there's a rotation going on. We're going to rotate 4 forwards, and Spezza was the first one up, and he needs to work on him being on the penalty kill. Okay, if that's the case, fine. But you know what? He's a veteran. He's a 16-year veteran. He signed here for a league minimum. You play him in the opener, and he didn't do that. And now he's going to be asked Jason Spezza questions from here until Sunday. And you know what? He deserves it because he's creating his own friggin' mess.
Yeah. I just think it's ridiculous.
I just think if Spezza knew he was signing up for this, he wouldn't have signed.
There's no question he wouldn't have signed, And
he probably brought back to Ottawa.
It's just ridiculously humiliating for no reason. And it really does show you like the difference between the disconnect between Dubas and Babcock. And it's just not the right way to start the season. I mean, there's no way they're getting around that, It's the
and Babcock said in his press conference after the morning skate that I've talked to Jason about this, and he is on the same page. I'm sure he is not liking it right now that he's been embarrassed that he's been scratched for Nick freaking Shore, who's not even an NHLer. I barely noticed him in the preseason. He should have been sent down to the Toronto Marlies, and that may eventually happen. But come on.
This isn't Shore's fault. He's okay. He wins some faceoffs. This isn't his fault. If nothing else, seriously, game 1, do you not think Jason Spezza invited his whole family to this game? Considering
there's no question. Everybody was coming to this game. And it's just ridiculous to me.
Yeah,
it's really upsetting. It is. It just makes no sense. And it really, it just puts a bad vibe on the whole thing because it just vibes out your first game for no reason. I don't see it. I don't see the point. I don't see the point. Any thoughts, Peter?
I think this is one of those things that it just sort of touches on the disconnect that's long been sort of believed to be happening between Babcock and Dubas, and what Dubas is trying to build and what Babcock wants to run. And more people are starting to see it. This one is just sort of one of those things where it's like, if you sign Jason Spezza, you bring him in, and the coach doesn't see a use for him on opening night, given the penchant for who he's run out before in terms of players. And now he's like, Spezza can wait a game or two. I don't understand it. And I think more and more people are seeing it, not just from an underlying numbers issue, not an analytics issue. They're just seeing it in basic usage and understanding of how they see hockey. Because basically what Babcock said about his fourth line and stuff, everyone understands that because we've been watching that style of hockey for 30 years.
Right.
And he's not doing anything to disprove that he's a dinosaur in some aspects.
Right. And this is the thing, and we can move on after this, but right now their number 4 line for tonight's game is Dmytro Timashov, who is a speedy, skilled winger playing his first NHL game. He's played great with the Marlies for 3 years, so he deserves a shot. Nick Shore, who, like I said, he played with 3 teams in 4 years, so over 200 games in the NHL. He's a role player. He's a fourth liner. He's a borderline NHLer. I'm not slamming him. I'm just saying, compared to Jason Spezza, who, how many goals does he have? And, he's maybe a borderline Hall of Famer based on, unless he wins.
Yeah.
Maybe he wins if he wins a cup, he does make it. But and Freddie Gauthier, who for 2 years has been an abject failure with this organization. But Babcock has a love affair with Freddie Gauthier because he's big. And that's the dinosaur aspect here. He likes these big players, but if they don't do anything, what good are they? Exactly.
All right, let's move on. We got a lot of predicting to do here. We're gonna do the Eastern Conference today. So we're gonna start with let's start right on in the Atlantic, I guess, right there where we are. Just get my stuff up here, and this division. Every year, you have to think on this one. Is this going to be the year that this division will get 4 teams in the playoffs? That we'll see 4 teams in the playoffs this year versus, and I actually think you will. I'll throw that out there in the beginning. I think there is going to be 4 teams from this division.
Why don't we go 8-1? Why don't we go like who the bottom?
We'll go 8-1. That sounds good. I'll say my 8 first, then you guys can tell me what your 8 is. We'll just kind of go around. I've got the Red Wings at 8.
They could be the worst team in the league, and I know at my record, because I said Ottawa was the worst team in the league when they made the conference final that year. But I've seen Detroit play twice. They are not talentless because they have Larkin, they have Bertuzzi, they have a couple good forwards, they have 1 or 2 decent defensemen. But Yzerman sent Veleno, sent Seider, sent Zadina all down to Grand Rapids. They're letting them slowly develop down there, and this team is going to be terrible.
Raise your hand if you don't have the Red Wings 8th. Everyone's got them 8th. Okay, cool. We'll move on then. All right, let's go on. The only thing I'll say about this team is I agree with you. I think Yzerman also has, after all the pressure he's felt in Tampa, is kind of enjoying the fact that he doesn't have that pressure here and can just build this team from the ground up. So it's going to be easier for him. Number 7, I've got the Ottawa Senators. Raise your hand if you know the Ottawa Senators there. All right.
That's not raising. I'm just adjusting.
Yeah, I mean, Ottawa will be better than Detroit. They have some talent. They have a lot of young talent. They'll be much better in the second half than the first half. But they're going to trade Craig Anderson by the deadline. So yeah, they're 7.
Yeah, I think there's no question about that. And then from here on, it gets kind of tricky because it does get me move around. And number 6, I've got the Buffalo Sabres.
Same here.
Everybody else? Anybody not have Buffalo Sabres here? No, we're agreeing on way too many things today, guys.
I want to give the reasons too.
This is the easy work, as my kid likes to say.
It is. For me, the easy reasoning on this is until they divest of Zach Bogosian, until they show me that the goaltending's better, until they show me that their bottom 2 lines are anything, this is the same old Sabres. Unfortunately, every year you start off saying, look at this, look at that. They could be better. They've got this, they've got that. And then every year when the year starts, this kind of stuff happens. and now Montour is not in there, and they're going to probably start out slow, and it is what it is.
Well, I'll just say this. I was a little bit confused because Victor Olofsson, who had a great camp and was scoring at a really high pace, was skating on the number one line with Eichel and Reinhart on Monday. And on Tuesday, he got sent to Rochester. Now, I don't know if that was a paper move.
It could be a paper move.
It might be a paper move because he played great, and I can't imagine. But right now on their second line is Vladimir Sobotka, who – so they're trying. They're doing this. Is Ralph Kruger trying to infuse these guys who played like crap last year with the confidence that I'm a new guy. I'm gonna give you an opportunity. But I just don't know if we're gonna get anything more out of Sobotka than 3 or 4 goals.
One of the things Sabres have going for me, right, is that they have a lot of guys they can move at the deadline. A lot of UFAs. Sobotka being one of them. Shiri, Gergensen, Bogosian, Scandella. These are all guys. All of them.
But that's not that was not supposed to be their objective this year. And actually, Shiri had some sort of injury because I saw he wasn't at practice one day too.
Yeah. That's not supposed to be the objective.
I would know better. Mike, is Shiri injured or is he going to start the year?
He was skating on the third line with VC and Middlestat, so I think he's playing on Thursday.
All right, let's move on now to number. See, I actually do think that the Sabres could finish as high as 4, but I'm going to put them at 6. But I do think that in my opinion, 6, 5, and 4. These 3 teams could come up in any order at all.
Well, can I go number 5 and see because I know it's not going to agree with yours. Number 5 is the Montreal Canadiens.
I agree.
Yeah, number 5. I mean, the Montreal Canadiens are going to be. They're not going to be as good as they were last year because they got phenomenal performances out of Weber coming off the injury. Price was Price again. I don't know if that's going to happen again. They struck out on Aho. They really didn't address their scoring situation. Jonathan Drouin is played like crap in the preseason. There's too many things that have to go right for this team to be higher than 5th. So I think they may get 90, 92 points, but they're not going to be in the playoffs.
Anybody else have Montreal there? You have Montreal there, Russ, right?
I do. Basically, they are going to be the same team they were last year, same results, which means they're a good team, but not good enough.
I have Florida there. Who do you have there?
What, 5th or 4th?
In the 4th spot. No, the 5th spot. The 5th spot.
Yeah, it's Florida, but Florida's a confusing team.
They are.
Because I know they've added Bobrovsky, they've added Quenneville, but have they done anything else significant? Like, have they really changed anything? So if they're betting on Quenneville being
Strawman.
Sorry?
They added Strawman.
Right. They added Anton Strawman. They added Achari. They added Brett Connolly. So I think they made themselves deeper.
Yeah, they made themselves deeper, which they needed to do. So, I mean, but they could, I don't know. There's something about Florida, but I mean, you got to hope that Bobrovsky just shores everything up and we no longer talk about goaltending in Florida.
I agree. No, they're definitely not.
And the thing is, they could be 4th, but they could also move up.
They could.
That's how much goaltending can affect the outcome, right?
I mean, it's hard to. One thing that people don't have to realize about Bobrovsky is, and as good as he was, and he's always been great, he has played with a very good defensive team in Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
Like not just good defensively. They're some of the top defensemen in the league in Columbus, and also their forwards come back and check really hard. Also, you're playing with with the Tortorella system, which is all about blocking shots all over the place. He's going to
Quenneville. The forwards will come back and check, or they won't play.
Yeah, he will. But he's going to have. But they don't have quite the talent of defensive forwards in Florida that Columbus has. So.
By the way, if anybody's got $300 extra, I just had a scalper to offer me tickets.
Probably Spezza's parents.
Canadians.
Did they have Jason Spezza shirts on, Mike?
No, they didn't.
Okay. So I have number 4 is where I put Montreal. Make
your case, Zach.
Make my case for Montreal. I've already done this with you guys, but first of all, I am a Claude Julien fan. I think what he did last year was outstanding. I think he's going to be even better this year. I am a really big Ryan Poehling fan. I think he'll be up there. I think he'll matter, and that'll help them as well. Mm-hmm. I can't help but think Duran's going to bounce back. I know he hasn't had a great preseason, but I'm not really putting much on preseason stats at all because you really can't. And I don't see any reason to think that Carey Price is going to not play well. So to me, as I look at this team, I say I think Montreal is the second fastest playing team in the NHL. As far as they're not the fastest playing team in the NHL. I think is still the Vegas Golden Knights, and I think that is the whole secret of the Vegas Golden Knights is that they play incredibly fast, not just skate fast, but they play fast. Montreal does that in the East more better.
Well, the only thing I can say is that you could get a performance out of Price equal to last year if they follow through and play Keith Kincaid 25 to 30 games and make sure that Price is healthy and rested and plays 50 or 55 at the most. If he plays 60 plus, I think that his play drops off and they're not going to make the playoffs.
You remember that this team finished ahead of Colorado and Vegas point wise last year.
I just don't love their top four. I don't. I think not having Noah Juleson is going to hurt them again. It
might.
I think their fourth line is really kind of average to below average.
Yeah.
Those are the areas they're going to hurt it.
Now, I have Florida at 4 for the reasons. I think Bobrovsky is a definite upgrade over a aging Luongo and a sieve in James Reimer. I think Quenneville will, he instills a certain type of hockey, and if the players that they have, like Barkov and Trocheck, adjust to what he wants, and that's always a question mark because we know Quenneville likes certain players and doesn't like others. But if they adjust to them, they're a playoff team. So I'm picking them to make the playoffs.
So Russ, is that where you have Florida as well?
I have Florida 4. And until I'm forced on this show to tell you if they're making the playoffs or not, I'm not going to tell you. But
we'll force you eventually.
I know. I'm as high on them as I was at the start of the summer. And I thought Ekblad looks really good. I think he looks really healthy. He's a great player. If you're going to want me to pick on Florida for something, I'm still picking on Florida's defense. Quenneville or not, I think Quenneville is going to be at odds with some of those guys.
The defense, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, Keith Yandel probably one of them. So there's going to be a little turmoil on the blue line, I think, for them.
Couldn't agree more. Their defense is very suspect.
And Strawman was showing his signs of age in Tampa.
Not like he's going to give them a huge boost.
No.
Number 3 is where I put the Boston Bruins this year. Now last year I put the Bruins out of the playoffs, if you remember. That was really good. That was a good pick by me. So the Bruins last year, I remember this conversation so well because Russ was like, yeah, you might be right. You never know. I just said I felt like they were counting too much on their older players and their younger players weren't ready yet. Their younger players showed they're ready, and their older players were the best line in hockey last year. So I'm obviously completely wrong in this case.
Yeah, but a lot of us were.
I think the concern for Boston, and this is where I had them at third as well, is Krejci's dinged up. Char is not starting the beginning of the season. They've gone through a Stanley Cup final, which puts wear on the tires of older players. You have to say eventually Bergeron and maybe Marchand's still relatively young, so I don't think he'll show up. But Bergeron is the key to that team. It's still shocking to me that he was out for a month and they didn't drop off, and I don't know how long they can keep doing that. And they have a ton of young talent, but the key is that best line in hockey. And if they drop off a little bit, then they're gonna be in the wild card race or maybe finish third. So that's where
Krejci is really not a factor in that team anymore. To be honest,
they still rely on him for playmaking. They do.
He's on their number 1 power play still.
He is, but I think, even last year in the playoffs, he wasn't really like a huge factor.
No, because he always at the end of the year he's never the same. But I think getting to the Stanley Cup, he did help. He was having a pretty good playoff, I believe.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I will say this.
I do think they're. I did a wacky prediction for each of these teams. I should give them as we go along here.
Right.
But, so this one was that Halak is going to win the starting job this year, which is kind of, I know that sounds kind of crazy because Rask has been so strong, but wacky predictions are wacky predictions. Okay, these are just things that I think could happen.
This is extremely wacky because you're coming off a year where Tuukka Rask, if they had won Game 7, wins the Conn Smythe Trophy.
I know, but they didn't, and he didn't, and that didn't happen.
That's fine. That's a wacky prediction. I'm putting Boston third too. I do think they have the depth to overcome some of these early injuries. I think that's why they have it. I think if they're going to go far, though, David Backes's skating is going to have to be better. They need to get something out of him. Maybe the figure skating helped him. They're going to have to get a regular season charge out of Charlie Coyle, not just hope that he's around for the playoffs. So that's going to be something. If they could get that, they could be better than this, but right now I'll put them in this spot.
Yeah, we'll know if the figure skating had an effect if he does a triple Salchow against Montreal or something like that.
All right. Is that where you have Boston as well, Peter?
Yeah,
We are like all like pretty much on the same page.
I think this division is the division of the haves and the have-nots.
It is,
and there's only really two in betweens, right?
Or the
And
half,
the in between,
not.
the haves not. Oh, that was good.
Good. Continue.
Right, and now we're in the haves.
Fantastic.
And I think there's two that are similar that will once again beat themselves to a pulp in the postseason, and one that will rise above them and face one of the have-nots.
Yeah, right. You're right. I don't think that's fair. Now number two.
Now, okay, because I did read your column, so I know where you're going. So let me start.
Go ahead. You do number two.
Because number two is the Toronto Maple Leafs, at least in my estimation. Do I think that they're heavily skilled, they're front loaded, they don't have any room for error in terms of if injuries happen. I think they're going to be really good. I think they're going to be really entertaining. I think their defense, at least offensively, is much better. Having Cody Ceci on the top pairing with Morgan Riley is a little scary, but I actually thought he's played pretty well in the preseason. And the Muzzin Berry second pairing is leaps and bounds better than Jake Gardner and Nikita Zaitsev.
There's no questions asked there.
Now, they're going to have some problems with bottom pairing guys, and that they're probably going to end up carrying like 21 players and ferrying guys up and back from the AHL because of the cap situation. But I think they're going to get home ice advantage in the first round, and it's probably going to be against Boston again, and that's always going to be scary. They have to slay the dragon, but I don't think there's any way, even though I understand this is like what happened with Washington a few years ago when they won the President's Trophy and they focused less on regular season glory.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay is such a good team that I just can't see anybody else winning the division.
Yeah,
I'm in the same boat.
Okay, you feel that way too?
I do. The only thing I'll say about the Leafs is defense is definitely better. I'm starting to question Babcock as the coach of this team. I started to question it a little last year. I'm questioning it a little bit more now. It doesn't mean he can't win, but I really need to see it.
Yeah.
Mike is happy with their backup goaltending. I'm still not thrilled with it. I still think they get second. They don't get the division, but I think they'll get farther than last year. Mm-hmm. But I don't know how much further. That's really going to be the question.
Well, they would like get one game further, I think.
If they really do name a captain today, I think it's a mistake. I think they should not name a captain at all. Try and move away from that controversy rather than trying to.
It's kind of. I agree with you.
Well, they are going to name a captain. It may actually be like in the pregame ceremony. I mean, they haven't made a press release yet.
Like a Velcro C up to someone and go.
Yeah, probably, and probably that's going to be the case. But Ross, I have to explain it. I'm going to ask Peter on this. Their backup goaltending is better than it was last year. Last year it was AHL caliber. Michael Hutchinson's at least an NHL backup. I think he can play 25 games. If he plays 25 games and they play Freddie Anderson less than 60, I think that's a recipe more conducive to them making a deep run. If Anderson plays the amount of games he's played the last 3 years and he just turned 30 years old, he's going to be exhausted when it comes, especially facing as many shots as he has.
Is he as good as McElhinney, Mike? I don't think so.
No, but even McElhinney only played 18 games when he was here or something like that. So it's all Babcock actually playing the backup like a backup instead of just the second of back-to-back games.
Babcock's the same as a lot of coaches. He's got trust issues. So this is why you see moves like the Spezza thing. This is when you don't have a backup you trust. You do all sorts of crazy things because you're trying to understand how to give your goalie rest. You can't manage the workload and who your goalies are playing because you don't trust your backup. Right. And this is key. Like if he doesn't trust him, like, this turns into a gong show and Freddie Anderson comes to the rescue. Right.
And they won't probably because they can't go out and trade for another goalie like they did or pick up one on waivers like they did with McElhinney because of their roster situation. So yeah, the burden's going to go on Freddie, and that is a recipe for disaster because he played 66 games 3 years ago and 2 years ago. He played 60 games last year. And in all three instances, he ran out of gas in the playoffs. And it's only because now 66 or 60 is not ridiculous, but when you're facing 40 shots a night, that's the problem.
Yeah, the best thing that could happen to the Leafs is like around when's the trade deadline? February 28th or somewhere in there. Around the trade deadline, right before the trade deadline, Nylander goes out with an injury that they can put on to LTR for the rest of the season, and then they can go out there and they can trade for a goalie for the rest of the season and go into the playoffs and have Nylander back, and they could have the Anderson combination. Which I think is what they need to have. I think bringing Craig Anderson in would be a really smart move for them.
I would say Ottawa and Toronto never trade, but they've traded twice in the last.
Or even bringing Jimmy Howard, even like that would be another one.
Jimmy Howard, wow.
Why not? Like that would be something
crazy, absurd.
No, but it would be better because you'd have guys who played in the playoffs. You have two guys there who played in the playoffs.
I mean, in that regard, sure. Okay, I'll give you that.
I mean, and if Anderson goes south, anyway, all right, let's move on to okay. So my thoughts on this now. Who do you have number one, Peter? Peter, you have number one, Toronto or Tampa?
Tampa.
You have Tampa, okay. And you, Russ, you have Tampa?
I have Tampa, but I want to say something about Tampa. I need to see that they're really the team of a couple years ago, because the team of last year couldn't cut it. I'm skeptical now that they're still the team that is the king of the regular season, but may not be able to cut it in the playoffs. Now, they should make it to the conference finals. They should. But if they don't, then I think they've got organizational issues. But I think they should make it to the conference final.
Yeah. I think that they'll be. I think Tampa will be just as good as they've been. Like I say, I like Maroon and Shattenkirk pickups. Are good pickups. They're little, they're subtle, but they're good. They're going to help them. But Vasilevsky is the best goalie in hockey. So I really believe that. So that also puts him in a spot. It's really hard. I mean, I did this yesterday. Had I done this today, I may have put Tampa number one, because of the Spezza thing just really gives me like reason for concern. Just on a bigger level. I mean, it's not a big deal, but it just shows me again, like this disconnect that exists there, this dysfunction that exists. But let's move over to the other division, which is much harder. And I think we'll have many more disagreements with.
This is going to be very interesting who the number 8 is in this division.
All right. I'll start with my number 8 is the Carolina Hurricanes. Straight up. I feel like I know they had magic in a bottle last season, but they've lost too many Justins. It's really at the end of the day, it's just like, just in case, they should have kept Justin Williams or Justin Falk.
Another one.
Just in time.
Just in time. Will Justin Williams return just in time? I don't know.
I disagree. I disagree with this.
I think Waddell can justify it.
You can maybe justify it. The other thing is they're spending $7 million on Mrazek and James Reimer. All right, let's just throw that out there for a second. Let's understand what's happening there.
That doesn't make me feel good.
That doesn't help, right?
Yeah.
I think my record prediction for this team is that James Reimer will be the number one goalie for this team.
That's not outrageous.
It's not outrageous. And they paid a lot of money to him. They gave him 2 years at $3.2 million.
No. They inherited that contract.
Right, but they traded for him. I know, but they have it. So. I know this is the worst case scenario for them, that they fall out and the chemistry is not them, and the us versus them is not there again, because they had so many things last year, little things that hockey works with, and I think that's hard to follow through into next season. Who do you have at 8? Peter, we'll go to Peter first.
8?
Yeah.
Oh man.
We'll go to Russ first. Russ.
Well, I'm thinking about this one's tough.
Right,
I honestly think it's going to be. I think it's going to be Columbus.
Bingo.
Like, I don't want it to be, but I think it's going to be.
Yeah, I'm going Columbus too. Reasons: starting goaltending not good enough. Maybe Elvis wins the job. We'll see, but he's young. Bottom 6 not good enough. If
not enough offense,
and if a kid like Sonny Milano can't make the team with the offense that he has, just because he doesn't play perfect defense, that's going to hurt him. Brandon Dubinsky's not the same player,
and he's hurt.
That was always going to get at that, Mike, but thank you. Torts has taken years off his life expectancy in this league because of the way he plays when he plays for Torts. Defense is still good. They're just not good enough. This whole division's gotten better, and they haven't.
Yeah,
Right.
no, I don't think you're way off base because I had Columbus 8 and I had Carolina 7.
Carolina
'Cause
7. All right.
for all the reasons that you said, and on top of it, it's just, I mean, everything broke right for them. They're not going to be doing many center ice celebrations if they keep.
I mean, I don't want that. I love the fans of Columbus. I'm not Carolina. I love the fans of Carolina. I hate.
No, I have nothing.
favorite hockey cities, and it really kills me because I love what they did last year.
I have no problem with the fans. I have a problem with the center ice celebration.
I don't have a problem with that either. I think that's great. I love that. But number 7, I have the New Jersey Devils, and it's a tough one because I honestly think 7 through 3 could come in any order. And this it's really tight. You know, there's a lot of really tight teams here.
Like 2 points for each team, like it could be.
Yeah, it's that crazy. But to me, this is and as I wrote in my blog, Devils fans rejoice because the Devils always do opposite of whatever I predict. That's gone on 10 seasons in a row now. I predicted them to be pretty good last year. Predicted them to be terrible the year before. They were good. So this, I'm telling you, they're going to finish in 7th. The Devils fans should be happy with me. You know, everyone else is going to be mad at me, but Devils fans should be happy. I mean, I love this, and this actually might be and I grew up in my blood hating the New Jersey Devils. Okay, this is a team that, of all the teams in the NHL, the Devils are the team that I grew up hating. You know, Rangers are 1A, but the Devils are right there, right? And I love this. This is probably my favorite Devils team that's ever existed as far as the players go. Like, I love this team. I can't wait to see Jack Hughes and Taylor Hall play. But they have to figure out the Taylor Hall thing, and it's going to be a problem.
I'll tell you what, if they do come in 7th, John Hines will get fired.
Yeah. And Taylor Hall will probably leave. And that's all that and that's going to be a problem.
They'll trade him.
They'll probably trade him, right?
Yeah.
But when I look at this team, and I look at the Metro teams and the team that's 90 miles away from them in Philadelphia, when I look at those 4 teams, the New York metro area, those 4 teams in Philly, this is the team where the goaltending is just not good. Like Corey Schneider, it's all on him.
No, it's not, because Mackenzie Blackwood played really well last year.
Yeah.
They played like about 20 games.
Yeah, but
I mean, it's a lot of weight to put on a sophomore. Now, now, did we get everybody who picked 7th?
No, 7th, I have Carolina.
Okay.
Basic reason is don't love the goaltending. Defense is improved. I don't know if it's improved defensively. It might be improved puck moving and puck retrieval wise, but I don't know if it's better defensively, like hardcore defense. I think that may be an issue. And that could be just enough to derail the goaltending, and the goaltending could be just enough to derail what should be an improved offense. So I think that's the problem there.
Now, Peter, did you have Carolina 7?
And
Make a decision.
I know this is hard. There's 2 teams here that I think could potentially drop down and bottom out into that position. One's Carolina, and the other is the Islanders.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a coin toss for me.
Okay.
Here's what's going to happen. You've got old school versus new school. And these are 2 great teams with talent and stuff, but have some on paper flaws as we look at them. So either the new school way of thinking, which is the Carolina, the Hurricanes, is going to buck the trend, and they didn't catch lightning in a bottle. What they're trying to do is going to keep working, or they're going to sink. Or old school with Lou and the Islanders is going to rise up or sink. And I think it'll be an interesting story to compare the 2. This is a toss-up for me. I'm going to say the Islanders.
Okay. And you know what you said, the description you just led there leads perfectly to my number 6, which is the Philadelphia Flyers. I've got the Flyers at number 6 in this division.
Wow.
Yeah, I know people are shocked at this, right? Because they always think that I'm a Flyer, and I'm a Flyers fan. You guys know this.
Freak out over that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, people aren't going to like it. I've already gotten hate mail about it.
Just the same way I don't like that guy's jacket behind my same way.
This, to me, they just don't feel ready. I'll
tell them, Russ.
There's something inherently wrong with the Philadelphia Flyers right now. And I'm as I say this, I'm telling you that in 2 or 3 years, they're going to be a very, very good team.
Good, thanks.
But where they are right now is tell me the Flyers players that are significant that are between the ages of 22 and 30.
Significant 22 and 30. So you pick that age group on purpose.
Or even 23 and 30, like 23 and 29.
Okay,
And
so Travis Konechny, Ivan Provorov,
Couturier.
what, 22, 23?
Yes. Couturier.
Shane Gallagher, Sean Couturier.
All right, let's see. Let's go 25 to 30 then. Okay. I'm talking about. No, I'm serious because that's a big age group of where you want to have players, right? You want to have players in that age group because these are your mid veterans on their second or third contracts going strong. Where the Flyers have a bunch of guys over 30 that are just over 30, granted, but they're over 30.
Yep.
And a bunch of guys.
I do see the message here. I get the
early 20s, and I don't know. And when you're trying to throw all these players together, their locker room is so different than last year. Everything is so with all these different coaches and different players, and two generations, kind of like Konechny and Giroux are different generations. Let's just say that, okay. And Konechny's strong. He's going to have a great year, I think. But Carter Hart is just, there's a lot of stuff there. Like Carter, and I feel as if the significant players that are there to bring that younger group to that older group together in the locker room doesn't exist, and I think that's a problem. I feel as if and I want to be wrong, but I just don't see this with these coaches working yet. And I do think that they've got one of the best prospects groups in the NHL, and I can't wait to see these guys come into their own. I'm going to look forward to watching them more than last year. For sure, because Farabee is, and if Ross comes up again, this is going to be good stuff. But now sixth is where who do you guys have in sixth?
I'll tell you, I'm going to go next because I saw a quote yesterday. I had the Islanders 6. I saw a quote from Lou Lamoriello saying he doesn't worry about goal scoring. He only worries about goal differential. And you know what? If that's really what you believe deep down, you've got a goal scoring problem, and they have a goal scoring problem. I do like Ryan Pulock. I think Noah Dobson will be a great addition. I think their blue line is solid. I do think unless their blue line's scoring a lot more goals, they're going to have to be like a Laviolette blue line that really chips in goals.
Right.
I think they're going to have a goal shortage, and I don't think teams are going to sit back and let Trotz play that exact system like last year because, again, they still have a lot of issues. Everybody's saying, oh, look, Cal Clutterbuck came back from this back surgery. We'll see. Like, as an example, like Ryan Braun's a guy in baseball who plays with a back injury. He went into the wall once, into the fence, and he started wincing after that, right? Same thing could happen to Clutterbuck. They lose him. That's a big cog out of their lineup for the sandpaper kind of team that Trotz wants to play. End of the day, I just don't think they have enough scoring, and I don't think they'll be able to live up to the defensive expectations, and I don't like Varlamov as a starting goalie.
I have them at 6-2, and the thing with Varlamov is I don't know whether he can stay healthy. And if he doesn't stay healthy, then you go back to ex-favorite Thomas Greiss as the number one goaltender, and that's a recipe for disaster. So I think they're sixth.
I've got that.
Whenever I hear Greiss, I always think of the best recent April Fool's Day joke I got punked on, and that was Russ telling us he had a hookup for Greiss to come on the show on that day, and it got us all.
That was fantastic.
That was good.
That was very good.
So guys, I'm with you guys on the Islanders for all the reasons you said. I hate betting against Barry Trotz though, but I do have the Islanders at 5, and I don't think they make the playoffs. I think there's 4 teams from each division that make the playoffs. So I have the Islanders at 5.
So did everybody? Are we up to 6?
Peter's 6th.
Who did I say for 7th again? I said
You said the Islanders.
Islanders. So then
Carolina here, obviously.
No.
Yeah, no.
I'm gonna go Rangers.
We're gonna Rangers here. Okay, all right.
I don't care if they have Panarin. I still think they're not a complete team yet.
Okay.
And I think at some point Father Time catches up with Mr. Lundqvist, and they're not going to quite make that move yet. They will make a move. I just don't think it's yet. Because my point being with this is that if I'm saying the Islanders are the ones that fall, then I think Carolina is going to be doing a lot better than 6th or 7th.
Yeah. All right.
I have the Devils at 5. I think that they're going to get production out of Hughes. I think that Hall's going to come back, and I think they'll get decent enough goaltending. And I like their defense now with Subban. So I think that they're. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team, but I think they're going to be improved, and they'll provide a little excitement for the New Jersey fans. Now, who else has 5?
I'm going to go 5. Philadelphia Flyers. Couple reasons. I think they could still be like a 90-point team and just not make the playoffs. That's one thing. Because I think the Metro is going to be that good. I think they are going to give a lot of other teams problems. But the biggest problem for the Flyers is, as much as it's changed, a lot of it has stayed the same. And we're starting to see that even in these preseason games where they have to come back from behind. They always have to, and they can do it, but you can't do it enough to make it in the playoffs anymore. You can't. And so they have better personnel. They have better guys on defense, even though they're a little older. And I think Carter Hart will be a little less than he was last year. I don't think that's any great, revelation there. That happens to a lot of goalies. But at the end of the day, it's a lot to put on Hart. Elliott's definitely a capable backup, but he'll eventually get hurt because he always does. And I just look at the guys like Voracek. This year is going to be the year where Alain Vigneault is going to figure out how to weed out some of the veterans, even if it's a JVR, guys who maybe aren't pulling their weight 100% for this team. And Alain Vigneault will get them out this year, but I think this year is going to be transitional because of that.
And let me say,
and if Alain Vigneault doesn't, Terrien will.
Right.
Yeah. Let me say to make this clear too. And I said this to Russ right away, and I think you agreed with me in the press box. We talked about this before. I said the way this thing's going to go with Vigneault, it's either going to be an incredible success or an unmitigated disaster. They're either going to finish in 2nd or 6th, and I wrote that in here. I wrote that in my blog. I think, and unfortunately, I'm banking on 6th, but I don't think it's a middle of the road thing. I think this either works or it doesn't.
See,
you look at the Flyers, you're looking at a 74 Volkswagen on a sub-zero day, and you turn on the ignition and you're expecting it to fire up on all cylinders.
Yeah.
And I think that's a prayer for this team right now.
Yeah, I have them sort of in the middle. I have them middle of the road. I have them 4th. I think Vigneault is going to have success, but not overwhelming success. And if Hart can play 50 games, 55 games, and not be overwhelmed in his sophomore season, I think they're going to be one of those teams that gets into the playoffs on the final weekend.
Who do you have in 5th, Peter?
I have the Flyers as well. Okay. And with that, I want to think about something here. You talked about, the idea of weeding out some of the veterans, making accountability, and this could be spectacular, or it could be a spectacular tire fire, given the personalities behind that bench and the change from the top and all the different issues. The one thing I think you have to remember is someone on that team is going to be the whipping boy. Someone's going to take the heat consistently. I've seen it. This is how Vigneault goes, and he's going to have a problem with someone, and it's going to be consistently around. I'm wondering who it's going to be, who's going to be able to shoulder that, particularly if one of the other coaches picks up on it too.
Right.
And, who's got the biggest set of shoulders to hold on that? And, the guy I'd be worried about right now is Nolan Patrick.
Well, he's going to start the year in the LTIR, I think.
Yeah, I know. But when he comes back, I can just see him being that guy and being the guy that if the organization is going to hold firm to what Vigneault's trying to do, and Patrick doesn't start off strong when he comes back and he struggles, he doesn't adapt what Vigneault's doing, and you start hearing the comments, not on after the games, but during the week, after the morning skates and stuff, and you start hearing it, I wouldn't be surprised to see him on the trade block, or at least showing up in rumors if that's the way it goes.
I made that prediction weeks ago. I think he will get traded either way. I did. I'm sorry.
No, but not because I think they should trade him.
No, but because it's inevitable.
Of this scenario.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, and I think it's inevitable. All right, so we need to go 3 now.
Okay. So everybody's 4s are covered? Okay. I have.
No, hold on. I didn't do a 4.
Okay.
I didn't do a 4. 4 for me is the New Jersey Devils, and I think Blackwood will be better, but I still think there needs to be a progression there, and I haven't seen enough in Schneider. I don't think he's bad as last year. He will get some wins early on, which he didn't last year. So I think that's better. The defense is better. The power play is better. Taylor Hall, this is whether he's going to talk about his contract in season with the team or not, which he says he is. So that I hold him to that. I still think it's going to be an issue for the team, and I think it's going to hang over him. I think this will turn into Jack Hughes' team. I think Taylor Hall will end up leaving, and so that's why I can't put him any higher than this. But they'll be a fun team to watch.
Okay,
number 4.
Go ahead.
You go. You're number 4. Go ahead, Mike.
I already did my number 4. My number 4 is yeah. Go ahead. I had Philadelphia as my 4.
Right.
My number 4 is the Columbus Blue Jackets, and this is every year. Last year I had the Islanders making the playoffs, and I was right. A lot of people didn't have them anywhere near it. This year I think the Blue Jackets are in the same boat. Like they are this year's Islanders / Hurricanes to me. Everyone counting them out because of what they lost, but they are still really young, and they still have a lot of talent up and down the lineup. Panarin is a huge player for them. Bobrovsky is a huge player for them. I am an Elvis believer. Watching him play in the preseason, I think he's the real deal, and I think he's also going to be just incredibly entertaining to hear talk and all that stuff. But he's the real deal, and I think that I could see this team riding the emotion of it all, like riding. We have a new goalie. When you have a new goalie, that's a huge thing. That can change a whole team around. And the best thing for them is to have Elvis in there. I hope he's the guy who gets the starts right off the bat. I don't know if he will be or not, but
probably Korpisalo.
And now Korpisalo is not a bad goalie either. But I think that I can see Elvis eventually taking this job, and I can see. This defense is so good still. Don't count out.
They have a good defense. There's no doubt.
Defensively, they're a playoff team in my opinion. They'll be a surprise playoff team. And
so you got 4 coming out of the Metro.
I have 4 coming out of the Metro and 4 coming out of the other 2. Yeah.
Right.
Now I have the Rangers at 3.
So do I.
I think they're going to be dynamic offensively. I think Lundqvist will have a good year. Their defense is better. They're They're deeper at forward. I like almost everything that they did in the offseason. I think I don't know if Adam Fox is going to be a star, but I think he's going to be really good early on. They impress me, so it would be sort of disappointing if they don't do that. So I have them in the top 3.
I'll go with my 3. It's also the Rangers. I think people are making too much of they're weak down the middle. Are they? Sure. But they have other guys who could play center. Like if Ryan Strome doesn't look like he could do the job, Nemesnikov can go in there.
Yeah.
If he doesn't look like they have guys that they can shift around. The biggest thing to consider, and this is the reason, at least what I've been told, why they may have sent down Cheadle and they may have sent down Kravtsov is because now with the new face-off rule, you could choose whether it's on the right or left side. So now teams want to have a balanced amount of righties and lefties that could take face-offs, and they're going to use that rule to the hilt. And so I think, even though I don't think Hedl is a future center in this league, they may still want him to concentrate on face-offs down there so he could take occasional ones when he's out there. And I think Kravtsov's the guy they should turn into a center because he was already playing it with the World Juniors last year and showed that he can do it, but he may not be able to do that yet at the NHL level like Dubois, so they're going to have him work on it. At the NHL level, I don't love Ryan Strome at the second-line center, but nobody loves Zibanejad as their first-line center, and it worked out. So
that's a fair point.
Yeah, and I think if you get past that, they have a dynamic group of forwards still. Panarin, I think, could get 85, 90 points. They have the second-best goalie tandem in this division. Even if you think Lundqvist is old or whatever, Georgiev has shown me enough to say for as long as he's on this team, because, again, Shesterkin's always going to be knocking on the door, they have the second-best goalie tandem. So I look at them. I like the blue line. I think Fox is much better than people think. I think D'Angelo is better than people think. And I think Stahl's getting overlooked now where he had a really solid year last year because just like bitching about Mark Stahl. So end of the day, I think the playoff team in that spot.
Yeah. All right. Who do you have at 3, Peter?
I have Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh at 3. Okay.
I have Pittsburgh at 3. You've got the Wonder Twins and Malkin and Crosby. It's hard to bet against them, but Pittsburgh's got some flaws. But when you have that kind of talent down the middle and up front, it can mask a lot of flaws. They just need some significantly stable goaltending, and that's sort of the one thing that all teams need, but the Penguins are going to need it. Like there's no margin of error here. I think Galchenyuk will be an interesting role to watch, and what is it, a full season of Bustad now, and hey, Brandon Tanev.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to say that.
Goal scorer.
But I know I'm not willing to give up on the Penguins yet, but
Right.
this is the season that we will see the beginning of the end for them. And we may have already seen it in some capacities, but unless Rutherford pulls some rabbits out in the next year or two, there's going to be some tough choices to be made in Pittsburgh about what this team needs to do going forward, because I don't think it can hold on much longer.
Yeah.
So
And this will be the last year.
So do we have all the threes?
Threes are in.
But the interesting thing here is the three of us, Mike, Russ, and I, all have the Penguins and Capitals as 1-2 and one somewhere, which way, shape, or form. But Peter does not. So I'm going to let Peter start with, because you have Carolina at one of these spots.
I have Carolina as number 2. And I go back to my earlier point.
Okay.
They may have found the magic elixir in how they're looking at the business model and what they're trying to do. This is a deadly talented team in terms when you look at that roster. Like, it really is. And, just like what happened in St. Louis with a coach coming in and transferring them around, did Rod Brindamore do that too? Maybe, but I mean, it arguably has the best defense in the league. And it might not be by a close margin, but by a significant margin. And with, who they have, up front, if they're moving the puck as fast as they can and doing that pace, all it's going to come down to is they just need league average goaltending. That's all they need. And that's the Achilles heel in this.
Yeah, I don't know if they
league average goaltending. Yeah, Mike, I know where you feel on their goaltending.
Yeah, I don't know if
league average. They're going to be a very dangerous team. If they don't, watch out.
Yeah, I don't know if they're getting that. That's the thing. Mrazek maybe, but he's inconsistent. Reimer is a sieve. He's been a sieve for 3 years. He's terrible. And this is like I said, he's a nice guy. I wish he would be better than he is, but he's a overpaid backup goaltender who I'm surprised should play. If he plays more than 20 games, if they have a chance to make the playoffs, I think they call up Djelkovic in the middle of the year, because I think he might be better prepared and more ready than Reimer is.
Okay, so let's
just to think about it though, right? Like, Mrazek played 40 games for the Hurricanes last season, and he had a 9.14. In 22 games the season before with the Red Wings, he had a 9.10. You go back to the season before that, he had 50 and 901, and then before that 54 and a 921, and then a 918 with Detroit, and then a 920. Like, he can play. It's just a matter of what's going on in front of him. I think it's a matter of what's going on in front of him. And if the Hurricanes are going to continue to play this incredible puck movement style and just attack in waves, as long as they can get the puck out quick and teams aren't setting up in that zone, they have a chance to do real well. But that's what has to happen, because the fewer pucks Mrazek sees, the better chance you have of him not being what he is.
Okay, so we know who Peter's number 1 is. So let the three of us, let's debate who's
now it comes down to Capitals, Penguins. I've got Capitals 1, Penguins 2.
So do I.
I want to start with the Penguins because I got to see them a lot the last few days.
Yeah.
And so Dominic Simone has won the job over Daniel Sprong. So right now, the Marcus Pettersson, Daniel Sprong trade, Jim Rutherford destroyed on that trade. Like, they just destroyed Anaheim on that trade and Murray. Like, that trade, Pettersson is a guy that keeps getting better every year I see him. And I still think Daniel Sprong could score some goals in this league, but not enough to support that trade anymore. So that's one where I already concede to the Penguins. Dominic Simone, though, had 12 goals last year, and he looks really good again. If they get 15 goals out of this guy, now you're sort of talking about him plugging up an area that, we thought that could be a problem. I also want to say I've seen Malkin. I've seen him in practice and in a game. He is fitter and more determined than I've ever seen him. So I think he's going to have one of his best years that we've ever seen him have. And I think that's going to play into this. I also want to say Matt Murray, even in preseason, looks more locked in this year now than he did middle of the year last year. And I think that bodes well for them too. So right now, we're not really talking about a lot of Penguins injuries or shortcomings. Jack Johnson is the only thing we're really talking about. I think that's why they're 2. I think we all know why the the Caps are one. And I do think their window's starting to close. So I think they have a real good push in them this year. I do.
Well, I think Peter had a good point about the Penguins starting to slip a little bit. I mean, those key players are starting to get a little long in the tooth. I still think Crosby's one of the best in the game, and Malkin, if he's in shape and he returns to form, which it sounds like he is, then they have a really good chance. And finishing in second place in that division is
I
really.
think Galchenyuk's going to surprise people, guys. I really do.
No, I think he's a factor too. It's
Maybe. Well, I know we definitely know for a fact that he's going to be a better fit with Malkin than Kessel, who they couldn't stand. Now, Washington, I thought the interesting thing, and we saw it on the waiver wire today, Russ, they waived Phoenix Copley.
Yeah, that's a paper transaction.
If it's not a paper transaction, that means that maybe Samsonov is the backup.
Maybe.
And if that's the case, then that is your first signal that they might be if Samsonov can play in the NHL now as a backup, that they're prepared to maybe either move on or trade Holtby at this point this year. It would be surprising to do that because they're if they're first place in the Metro, then they're a contender for the Stanley Cup, and I think they'll keep them no matter what. But they're laying the groundwork for the heir apparent of Holtby, and they
should do that. I mean, to be honest, these teams, I've gone back and forth over the last several days about who I put 1 and 2. I mean, I think these are close, and I think that I think it's easy to say the Penguins have fallen, and that might very well happen. I've seen a lot of people saying that, but it's also easy to sit there and say the Penguins have a lot of pride on that team, and the way they went out last year did not sit well with them at all. I mean, you have a lot of guys who've won a lot of things on that team, and I could see them really coming out. And the Penguins in general don't seem to care about the regular season. That's something that I've noticed. We've all noticed that. Like they're not usually atop the division. They're usually somewhere around 2, 3, 4, and then they end up around 2 or 3 or whatever. I think I really got the impression from talking to people out there. And Russ, you said with Malkin and Murray, I'm not surprised. I really got the impression that this is a dead serious thing for them. That they realize the importance.
It really seems that way. The other thing is, last night the Washington Nationals had a really great come-from-behind victory over the Milwaukee Brewers, and Adam Eaton, one of their players, said that the Capitals have been very inspirational to them. So when's the last time you've seen in a city a hockey team saying, a baseball team saying a hockey team has been inspirational to us? Pittsburgh might be the only other example. So that's a really big factor also for the Capitals. Like that's how high a regard fans view them in that city, and I think that they have that momentum right now.
I totally agree, I think that you have both goalies, both Murray and Holtby are up for contracts at the end of the year, which is interesting.
But Murray's an RFA, so
an RFA, Holtby the UFA, but they're both in contract years.
Right.
That to me is something Backstrom's in a contract year in Washington.
Yeah, and they gave John Carlson the A now. He took over for Brooks Orpik, so that's a good move too.
I think both these teams will be tough to top. I think they'll both finish. I don't think they'll finish as. I actually think the best record might come from Washington or Pittsburgh.
I do have one additional thing to say. So tonight, I'm going to tune in for the Wednesday night game just to see the Green Day video, if nothing else, because I've only heard 60 seconds of it. But I will tell you this: after the haters get done saying they're old and washed up or whatever. Based on what I saw in the song and Trey Cool using drumsticks, hockey sticks for drumsticks, I'm telling you it's going to go over big, and I think it's really going to grow on people. And I like what NBC did there to sort of jazz up the broadcast at the beginning to get people pumped up. I think that's a very good idea, and I think they need to do more of that for some of the other games. The NHL Network could take a look at that.
Oh, yeah.
All I can say is this: they're better than Kid Rock.
That's a low bar, man.
Tonight, enjoy the games tonight, guys. It's you have obviously. I'm going to tell you that my upset for the night is going to be Ottawa over Toronto. I for some reason, I'm telling you,
of course,
you wasted the trip, Mike.
I'm telling you,
you picked them for first place in the division. And
I know I did.
I
did. I'm telling you, the thing that's happening here are the guys like Zaitsev that have been moved, and then the Spezza thing. Ottawa's winning this game.
Okay, we'll see.
But that's just my feeling. Edmonton.
Is that your lock of the day?
That's my upset.
It's a Stu Feiner fight.
My lock is the Vegas Knights beating the Sharks.
It really is.
My lock is Vegas will beat the Sharks. That'll happen tonight.
So that's your lock, is that Vegas. So that means everybody's going to get Krispy Kreme, all the Vegas fans.
Yeah, they are. So
Let everyone have diabetes.
I mean, it's worth it. You can cheap flights to Vegas to get your donuts, guys.
I'm going to pick the Capitals over the Blues,
Mm-hmm.
which would signify to the Blues that you may have won it last year.
Yeah.
You won it the year before, but we're kind of ready to try and win it again.
And I don't like the Blues. I don't like this whole thing where you bring out the Stanley Cup before the. It just makes me nuts. That's one of my.
I do like the fact that they gave the young girl her own Stanley Cup ring, which was phenomenal. I forget her name right now, but that was tremendous. I started crying. I can't.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's very awesome. That's very awesome.
It was
All
awesome.
right, you guys. Who knows? Who knows what'll happen? I'm gonna get heat for that. Trying to think. I'm already.
I said Alex Steen won a ring somewhere. Anyhow,
there you go. All right, guys. Enjoy the first night of hockey.
And Lee Stempniak retired yesterday, Russ. So how perfect.
There you go.
That's surprising. You always seem to find something else. You always seem to find another team, and you always did well.
Mike, I want to tell you, they can improve the marketing for the Leafs on that clock by saying 1967 forever. It's just my recommendation.
There you go. The Leafs Center tonight is the team longest having not won a Stanley Cup officially. Okay, remember that the buzz is just hockey. We will talk to you all tomorrow.